me. I'm Gebben Miles, and this is my wife, Karen Miles. And we're coming to you in partnership with our ammo sponsor, B&P. And we are starting a series that is going to show how the basics that we have for sporting clays, how we implement those into hunting. And so we're going to do 3 videos showing you how to prepare for a hunt while we're out here on the sporting clay course. And then we're actually going to bring you 2 hunting videos as well. We're going to be shooting Eurasian doves, and there might be a few late season morning doves in there as well, but we found a really great spot to shoot some Eurasian doves, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Some of the things that we are going to talk about, obviously, is the fundamentals, okay, and how the fundamentals in sporting clays directly translate into hunting. And so, Karen, I know you don't have very much experience hunting. Hunting is how I actually got into sporting clays, but as we go through some of these concepts, if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
For sure, yeah, this is new. I started off shooting clay targets, so most people start off shooting a shotgun by shooting at birds. So this is going to be kind of an instructional video based off of the hunting, and I'm going to be right along with you guys learning the concepts of hunting and how our shooting game and our sporting clays can apply to the fun hunting stuff.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're so excited. So, you know, just to start, if we think about moving the shotgun, it all starts, and we've talked about this a lot, but with a solid foundation. And so when we're hunting, especially like if we're walking and we see a bird flushing, or if we're just sitting there waiting for birds to come in, once we see the bird flush, it's really important, or see it start to fly, it's really important to gain your balance, right? And we're gonna show you some things. We're not just gonna show you how to prepare for Eurasian dove hunting. We're also gonna show you how to prepare for some of my favorite birds to hunt, quail and other upland bird species, but we've got to gain our balance, right? So if we're walking and we're taking a step and we see a bird, we can't just throw the gun up and be out of balance. We need to acquire the target, find our balance, and then understand how to move the gun properly. And so that's one of the things that, you know, Karen, as a natural sporting clay shooter, does so well. You have perfect balance, you have a wonderful gun mount, and so the things that you already do are going to make you a successful hunter, even though you've not shot Eurasian doves before.
Absolutely. I feel like with the adrenaline that you could get from hunting with just seeing a bird all of a sudden,
Yeah.
I can see how the balance and the posture would be completely thrown up. I can see how if you just see that bird, you just want to immediately throw the gun up and shoot at it.
Yeah.
But in that case, you're actually wasting time.
Exactly.
Is what I'm feeling. You're
Yes.
wasting time because nothing is sound in the way it should be. And if you just take that extra second of like just watching you there, placing your feet in that athletic balanced stance,
Yep, so
that
important.
makes that mount go so much smoother and so much faster.
Yeah, exactly. And so when I'm thinking about like a hunting window that I have, you know, excuse me, so if I'm set up in a certain spot and I know there's hunters over to my right and there's hunters over to my left, or, you know, there's a certain barrier that I have, as a right-handed shooter, I'm gonna line up for my furthest right shot that I could take, okay, in my balanced position. So if I'm walking up on a covey of quail, you know, if I'm walking up there, I'm gonna be angled to my furthest right shot, and I can still rotate around to my left. You know, if I'm lined up, and you'll see this in our actual Eurasian dove hunt, we'll both be lined up for our furthest right shot that we could take, and we'll utilize the space and our stance, you know, depending on the space that we have to first and foremost be safe, right? Because that's what hunting is all about,
Right.
being safe, but then also how we can kill the most birds as well, right? And so anyway, that being said, it is really important to get that balanced stance, and then also start understanding a little bit deeper about how maybe the moves that we make in sporting clays, and then especially FITASC, because FITASC, we're coming from that lower draw length, how to kind of implement those things into our hunting move. So what's something that you think in FITASC would be helpful in hunting?
Well, the first thing is the pivot. I feel like if you have a solid pivot down, we are naturally like kind of holding low a little bit. As soon as we like identify that target or that bird, it's much easier to like, I feel like it might be easier to just pivot, lock on, and then be able to make that
Exactly.
diagonal move that we talk about. But
Exactly.
probably I can see I know how much it is, I guess, how important it is to have a good mount and feed task when you know where the target's coming from. But in hunting, you don't know where your birds are coming from.
Yeah.
So if you can have a good pivot for that,
Yeah.
not obstruct that target or that bird per se, I feel like that could be definitely helpful.
Well, and one of the cool things is I've had quite a few people who are top shooters reach out to me recently, and they've been watching some of the videos that we've put out and are asking about the pivot. And so, the pivot is so important. When we mount the gun, we want the end of the gun to stay perfectly steady and perfectly stable, right? So especially when it comes to hunting, like you're saying, when we acquire that bird and we pivot, now all of a sudden we're in connection with that target. And so we don't want a dip, right? We don't want the gun to dip, and we don't want to just come straight up. We want to pivot, and then that allows us to stay just under the target that we're connecting with. And so that's probably, besides our stance and our balance, that's probably the most important thing, is to have a solid pivot.
And those are like simple, fundamental things, no matter what you're shooting. But as you apply it into that hunting, I can see how the adrenaline and the chaos kind of going on can throw some of those off, and you just take away some of the attention on the good, simple, fundamental stuff. I do have one question for that pivot. When we shoot feed task, we know where the target's coming from, so we know the height of that pivot and what it needs to be. Would you apply anything differently in the hunting
Yeah,
aspect?
so with hunting, when I acquire a bird, especially if we're thinking about doves, most doves that we're going to be shooting, and the Eurasian doves fly a lot faster than the mourning doves. Okay, they even fly faster than a white-winged dove. But a Eurasian dove, when we're going to mount on it, when I first acquire that target, I want to mount below it, and I'm going to err on that bottom side, right? So I definitely don't want to be above that target, because if we do that, we'll tend to block it out. But if we can mount below, and with targets we say about 3 to 5 feet below the line, you can go ahead and err 10, 15, 20 feet underneath that bird, and then start connecting with it, and implement a certain technique that will help you kill the target.
Cool.
So
Awesome.
awesome. Well, guys, we're excited to get into some of these shots for you, and implement some of these concepts and help you become a better hunter.